Hello, my name is Dinesh. I'm in grade 12, and this is my IOC practice. The text I'll be looking at today is Macbeth by William Shakespeare. This book was written in the 1600s and is based on Shakespeare's relationship with King James, the king of who had many ancestors in Scotland, which inspired this book. I'll specifically be looking at a passage in Act 5, which looks at the characters Macbeth, Satan, Lady Macbeth, and a messenger. So what happens in this text is a basic summary. This is before the fight between the two armies, where Macbeth loses life, and this is also where Lady Macbeth passes away from suicide. So, in Macbeth by Shakespeare, it is highlighted that being at the top of the social hierarchy can lead to your pride being your hamartia. Shakespeare does this through use of personification, indirect characterization, and repetition style devices. On line 2 to 3, when it says, "Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn," this highlights that his castle himself is representative of him being strong and not willing to back down as he is towards this fight. Later on line 16, when he says I have supped full with horrors and direness, it personifies his thoughts, saying they're full of horror. His thoughts are based off horrors and direness, and he can't escape them in a way, which is why he's continuing to fight. On line 29, what he does is personifies life, saying life's but a walk in shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage. What this does is highlight that he's always moving forward, and time is always moving forward and isn't dependent on him, which kind of gives him this feeling that what's there to lose, and he might as well enjoy his time at the top and fight with dignity and pride. On line 46, when talking to, on line 46 and line 54, when he says when the woods are coming towards him, this shows that people are coming, but not only that, it also personifies the woods. And what this does is highlight that if he doesn't, it's representative of the social hierarchy and the great chain of being, saying that if he doesn't move from the top, what'll happen to him is that he'll be ran over, because as they approach him, if he's not willing to move, he'll be just straight up ran over. The second device uses indirect characterization. So on line 1, along with mentioning his castle strength, he also says he's going to hang our banners on the outward walls. This again highlights his pride in being king and how he wants to be at the top by leaving the banners out, which highlights to the audience is that he's still very passionate about it, what he's doing, and he wants to continue being at the top. And by doing that, he wants to show that he is in power at the moment and no one else can really take it away from him. On line 22, it says line 22, it says 22, he said, okay, never mind. Yeah, on line 22, he says, she should have died hereafter. This references on the line before the death of Lady Macbeth, by saying it was bound to happen. This shows that he doesn't really care about other people, including his own wife, only about his position, and that this also emphasizes how his being at the top of the chain causes your pride in doing your job to be your harsher because he forgets about other people and only becomes worried about himself. On line 43, line 43, he refers to the messenger who comes to speak to him as a liar and a slave. What this does is highlight his pride in being the king and emphasize how he simply does not care about other people except him. By calling him a liar and a slave, he's indirectly characterizing himself as kind of this ruthless leader, and as well indirectly characterizing the messenger as being inferior to who he is. Between line 40 and 50, when it said, "Upon the next tree shalt thou hang alive, till famine cling thee. If thy speech be soothed, I care not if thou dost as me as much." What this does, the alliteration of speech be soothed helps to highlight that, although, if you're telling lies, you must die, but if you're speaking the truth, the alliteration helps highlight that it will not matter because I will still die anyways. This also highlights his ruthlessness, and it's kind of symbolic of the witch hunt during this time, where if you're a witch, you'll die, and if you're not a witch, then you'll still die. And the same concept being here that if you're telling the truth, you'll be someone will be dead, and if you're telling a lie, you'll be dead anyways. Okay, so the last device, repetition. So when he says on line 6, he's going to be fighting them beard to beard, and he's going to beat them backwards home. It shows that how he will face them, and will face them head on and does not fear anything, and will beat them backward home, which shows how his pride in being the king and pride and wanting to win will lead to his downfall. On line 24, when he repeats tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, it kind of emphasizes how this is something he'll be facing for the rest of his life. The polysyndeton in this helps to emphasize how time drags on, and on the next line, creeps in his petty pace from day to day. The alliteration alongside the polysyndeton the line before helps to combines highlight how he's stuck in a loop, and this won't be the first time he faces this, and he'll constantly have to fight to maintain his position. Okay, so on line 27, he says, "I should report that which I say I saw." It emphasizes that the messenger himself is saying that he's honest, but as mentioned earlier, MacBeth does not believe him on line 50 when he calls him a liar. This helps the repetition of the word "I" represents the messenger's belief in his the messenger's honesty, while later on the 50s it highlights how MacBeth doesn't simply not believe in him, and this is what leads to his downfall, constantly facing other people, trying to maintain his role as king, showing his pride. So what we can tell from this passage is that being at the top of the social hierarchy can lead to your pride and doing your job being your harsher, because what you tend to do is tend to forget about other people and become very self-centered and forget about other people, leading to this sort of arrogance, thinking that you can do anything and you'll always win. Shakespeare does this through personification, indirect characterization, and repetition style devices. Thank you.